The Cowboys give up 21 unanswered points in the third quarter, putting themselves in an insurmountable hole to dig out of. In the fourth, they did all they could with back-to-back touchdown throws to CeeDee Lamb, but it still wasn't enough. 30-24, the Dallas Cowboys fall yet again to the San Francisco 49ers. Welcome into the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper. We've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans breaking down instant reaction from what just happened in Santa Clara. It's another one of those things where the Cowboys had every opportunity. They led at the halftime break 10-6, and then you turn around and you just give up the 21 unanswered in the third quarter. And by that point, it felt like they had a shot at the end. They had time, and then it just kind of fizzles out again.
Yeah, to me, it was a tale of two halves. You know, the first half, the Cowboys kind of made it a sloppy affair, kind of a low-scoring affair, the type of game that you would go into wanting to play against the San Francisco 49ers. But then the second half came, and once again, that rush defense reared its ugly head. When we look at it, these guys average a little bit over 6 yards a carry. All right, 36 carries for 223 yards. Now, all three of us, we played the game, and Kyle, you've covered the game long enough to realize defensively, if you're allowing those type of numbers in the rush game, it's just not winning football. You're not going to win many contests doing that. Usually, defensively, you got to stop something. You got to stop one something, either passing the ball or running the football. They weren't able to stop anything. 223 yards on the ground, 260 yards through the air. And to me, that's a recipe for just not being able to win many football games going forward. They've got to fix something defensively because right now, these are embarrassing numbers.
The contributing factors to the Dallas Cowboys losing in their 4 losses this year: lack of a running game. You had 56 yards on the ground today. Turnovers. You had 2 interceptions today. And then defense. In your 4 losses, you've giving up 462 yards per game. I don't know what game you can win or against what opponent when those stat lines are the story at the end of the game.
If you don't have those 2 turnovers, you're in the game. You're in the game, but when you had those 2 turnovers, I think they scored off of both of those situations.
Yeah.
And so you can't turn the ball over. I mean, these guys have put it to you in a nice and calm way when you're not physical. Coach, I can't think of his name.
Zimmer?
No. Coach Shanahan.
Oh, Shanahan.
Came right at the half saying, you know, we're going to get back to who we are coming out the second half. And they literally just came out and just dinked and dunked and ran the ball down the field and scored. You just cannot let that happen. Coach Zim, you cannot let that happen. Your players have to understand that those first 5 minutes coming out of the half is critical. And if you give up a score within the first 5 minutes, I'm talking about 7 points, you usually lose the game, and that's what happened here.
It was unfortunate because, at least in the early going, it was the defense that struggled, and then the offense that also struggled. They found their groove a little bit in the fourth quarter, but it felt a lot like Baltimore in the fact that San Francisco let their foot off the gas a bit. It gave you some openings. They decided not to cover CeeDee Lamb for some reason in the fourth quarter. He ended up with the 2 touchdowns and multiple grabs. But if you were to weigh things one way or the other, because neither has played well, the offense and the defensive units, which one carries more weight in the fact that the Cowboys are 3-4?
I would have to say defensively. I mean, when you look at it, because it's been consistent throughout the entire year. I mean, giving up these type of numbers on the ground, I can see maybe a one-off here and there. You're going against a great bag. You know, he just had a great day. But this is going on almost like a 3 or 4 game streak where teams are averaging almost over 150 yards on the ground against this defense. And I can't put my finger on it to tell you this is exactly what's going on. But when you look at that front 7, guys aren't winning the one-on-ones. Guys are getting pushed back into the laps of your linebackers out there, and they're not able to free flow out there and try to their best to stop the run. Tackling hasn't been the greatest so far this season as well. So whatever the case may be, Zimmer has got to get these guys back into the lab, and they've got to figure out a way to improve. I just don't know if it's too late to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you look at what has been over the recent years. Dallas has been a top defense over the recent years. That's the facts. Take emotion out of it. They've been top in defense. They've been top in terms of turnovers. All right, the turnover margin has been a lot closer. Now we've reverted back. This is pre-Dan Quinn era. I'm just calling it like it is, right? This is pre-Dan Quinn era. Now the Dallas Cowboys, when you look at them statistically, defensively, they're at the bottom of the league. That's no emotions. That's facts. Look at the stat line. That's where this Dallas Cowboys defense is right now. Now, that's not the entire story, but we want to talk about which one has more weight on it right now. I have more confidence in the offense getting back on the tracks than I do the defense, because we have not seen the defense on the tracks this year outside of week 1.
Defense, because what Quinn brought was a lot of movement in the defensive line. We did a lot of stunts. We did a lot of games. We slanted to the power. We slanted away from the strength of the offense. So it is basically defense. You're asking Osa. Last year, we was like, oh, man, Osa up and coming. Oh, man, he's about to peak. Well, this year here, we haven't heard from Osa. Osa's 280, maybe 290 pounds. He's not a catcher. He's a penetrator. He's a mover. He's a guy that can get free in games. That hasn't happened this year. We may call his name once a game. But other than that, he getting moved off the ball. He getting tossed. Mozzie is not a factor. When we play people that's determined to run the ball, like you say 150. It's up around 170 yards a game we giving up at a 5.2-yard clip. That's not going to work. Coach going to either have to adjust what he's doing. You got to go get some people off the street who's bigger and more brawnier than what we got here.
It's the first time since week 10 of 2013 that the Dallas defense has allowed at least 250 passing yards and 220 rushing yards in the same game. It's been over a decade since we've seen a defensive performance quite like that one. We've got more reaction coming up with Cowboys Game Night momentarily. It'll be myself alongside Nate Newton breaking down the locker room reaction and what just happened out at Levi's Stadium. We leave you with the final stats. 30-24, the final score. San Francisco gets it done, and they take down the Dallas Cowboys here in Week 8 of the 2024 season. Thanks for watching The First Word, presented by Dr. Pepper.